Years ago, I made an offhand comment that echoed throughout the internet. Something about modern women and the fall of Rome. The typical degenerate monkey people hooted and hollered about it. I've yet to hear an argument that it was incorrect. But I figured if it's good for the goose, might as well be good for the gander. And you are a generation of bastards. It's an interesting word, that word bastard. It's like the word gentleman. Originally had a meaning, but now it's just a describer of social behavior. A gentleman, somebody who inherits property from his father and knows how to behave like a civilized human being. A bastard that doesn't even inherit a name and doesn't know how to behave like a civilized human being. It's because not having a father turns you into a bastard. You can't overstate just how important it is for young boys to have one. And yet trying to describe what a father does is actually very difficult. We understand mothers. Mothers nourish. They help the child grow. But what exactly is a father besides a weekly welfare check? Well, fathers, they seem to do a couple things. And the modern parlance, these seem to be negative things. They protect aggressively, which the moderns think is bad because we have police. And they hold children to standards, which according to the self-esteem cult, makes children feel bad. So of course, talking to a modern, fathers are just a paycheck with a lot of unnecessary emotional baggage. But they are so bloody important. These two things that protect. What the father does, when there's a father, is they delineate a certain space. Maybe it's a space in the house, the playroom. Maybe it's an idea space. This is how our family behaves. But they delineate a space within which chaos is safe. When the kids go to the playroom, they can pull out the markers, they can toss the blocks around, they can play pretend, they can do whatever it is in the playroom. But they're not going to run around the entire house like that because the household will descend into chaos. This gives children the freedom to explore, but the security of knowing they're not going to explore too far and get captured by a wolf. The other thing the father does is they push the kid. They roughhouse with the kid. And don't you underestimate how important roughhousing is. This is the difference between the gentleman and the bastard. The gentleman was roughhoused. And he might throw a few punches, but he's not going to pull a knife. The bastard was never roughhoused. And if that guy gets pissed off, you'd better look out. You see, what roughhousing does is first, it shows the child that not all pain needs to be terrible. That there's a little bit of pain that's okay. We can take a couple of bruises without breaking. Not everything needs crying. But the father will also show the child, because he's so strong, because the child can't hurt him. If the child goes a bit too far, the father's not going to be hurt, but he's going to say, hey, calm down there, little Timmy. Don't be rude. We're playing and roughhousing is good, but don't take it too far. And so the kid learns that, yes, there's dangers out there in the real world, but I'm tough enough to take a few punches and survive. I can make a few mistakes and learn my lesson. I don't need to be terrified of the outside world. These things are not obvious. It's not obvious that fathers do this. We had to get rid of fathers to find this out. And this is what we've got now. A 50% divorce rate. Men institutionally removed from early childhood development. Very few male teachers. And even when you get male teachers, so many regulations and protections that the male figures, they can't roughhouse, they can't frank talk, they can't act like men. And so whether or not your parents were divorced, you're living in a generation that doesn't have fathers. But you know, this is not a unique problem to our era. It's maybe a little bit bigger in this era than it has been in previous, but this is actually human universal. Because your father is just a man. He is but a man. And the day will come when you beat him at chess. The day will come when he disappoints you. And the day will come when you disappoint him. And as far as I can tell, as far as interests me, I don't know there's really a difference between disappointment and hate. Except maybe you can defend yourself from hate. So that's more comfortable. I don't know. At the end of the day, every boy who ever lived became a man whose father hated him. And what the hell are we supposed to do about that? You know, you might be hearing echoes of Fight Club. Our fathers abandoned us, and our fathers are our first understanding of God. So if our fathers abandoned us, what does that say about God? Maybe God doesn't care about you. Maybe he doesn't like you. Maybe he hates you, and that's okay. That would be the nihilist answer. And there's nothing I can say to argue them out of it. I can't prove them wrong. But I don't think it's the right answer. Instead, I think we need to be looking to mythology, to fiction, to understand this. And the one universal, from Heracles to Harry Potter, is that you have your earthly father and the father above, the supernatural father. If you're in your 20s, if you are in your 20s, what you need to be doing right now is figuring out who to listen to and who to ignore. Because everybody is going to be giving you advice in your 20s. And if you listen to the wrong advice, you're going to go down the wrong path. You got to listen to the right people, ignore the wrong people, and it's up to you to figure that out. Best of luck, kid. But by the time you get to your 30s, nobody can tell you what to do. Nobody has lived your life at that point. Whatever choices you made in your 20s, whatever advice you followed in your 20s, well, that's who you are now. Now you've reached the point where you have to decide. Nobody can tell you. Your father can't. He's but a man. And you've finally become a man. Good luck. This is the point. This is the point where you need to find your supernatural father. You need to go on a pilgrimage. And this pilgrimage, it might just kill you. Probably will. You can abandon the father and become one of those men that clings to the feminine. I don't think I need to say anything more about those guys. Or you can abandon the father and decide to indulge in primitive masculinity. That would be nihilism. That would be Fight Club. Or you can go onto this pilgrimage. Stare reality in the face. Look into that abyss. And if you survive, that's when you become an adopted son of God. Like I said, kid, best of luck. Carpe futurum, tene traditum. Aurini out.